Scatter plots and lines of regression. Let's discuss some vocabulary terms we need to familiarize ourselves with. First is a scatter plot, a graph used to determine whether there is a relationship between paired data. Correlation is the relationship that we use to determine between the data sets. We have a correlation coefficient represented by the letter R. It's a number between -1 and +1. It measures how well a line fits a set of data points. And then we have a best fitting line or line of regression. Some it depends on what book or what question is being asked, but they're basically the same thing. The line that lies as close as possible to all data points. So there are three types of correlation. We have a positive correlation, where y, your dependent variable, and it's not always y. Your y increases as well as your x. So when you look below, you'll see my an example of positive correlation. Most of the dots are moving upwards. And when you move to the right, that's increasing x's, and when you're moving up, it's increasing y's. So both of them are increasing at the same time. However, we have negative correlation. In negative correlation, y tends to decrease, but x is increasing. So it kind of looks like it's moving downwards, but still going towards the right. So that's why we say x is increasing. And then when you can't determine what's going on, it doesn't seem like it's a pattern, we would say no correlation. So you see our picture that's representing no correlation. It's just a bunch of popcorn kernels in the air. There's no relationship. The correlation coefficient R, if it's between 0 and 1, 0 and 1, that means it's positive, and so you should see a positive correlation. The closer to 1 it is, the stronger the relationship. In other words, the closer the data is to forming a line with a positive slope. On the opposite end, the negative side, that means it has a negative correlation. And the closer it is to -1, the stronger the negative relationship. Again, the data points are almost perfectly in a line the closer it gets to -1. If it gets to -1, they pretty much are a straight line. Same thing with +1. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry. If we're graphing, if we're approximating a best fitted line by hand, we would follow these 4 steps. First, draw the scatter plot by hand. Then you would sketch a line that appears to get as close to all the data points as possible. You want to try and make sure to have the same amount of points above and below the line. Then you would pick any 2 points on the line. They could be data points or they don't have to be, and then write an equation. But we're going to use a graphing calculator to get this done for us. But if you had to do it by hand, these would be the steps you would follow. So we're going to use the table in example 1. It represents the number of people, Y, who attended each of the first 7 football games, X. So the X is games and Y is people. And then Based off of this data, we're going to produce a scatter plot on the calculator and a line of regression, and also discuss the correlation we see. So let's grab our calculator. To enter the data on a calculator, you need to go to Stat, and let's clear the data that might be in there. So you would hit 4 for clear list, and then hit second 1 for Y1, or for, sorry, list 1, comma, and then second 2 for list 2, and then hit enter. When it says done, that lets you know that you have a empty spreadsheet to start with. To get to the list, it looks again like an Excel spreadsheet. You go to Stat, and then Edit, and this is our little table. So let's always use list 1 and list 2. That'll make things easier for you in the next few steps. So we're going to enter each X value, hitting enter after each one. So 1, enter, 2, enter, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we're going to list our Y values. Make sure you be careful and enter the correct numbers with the correct Y value with the correct X value. Alrighty. Double check what you typed in the calculator with what's on paper or your graph to make sure you've entered the correct information. And I have. So now to produce the graph, or the scatter plot, sorry, you're going to hit second y equals, and then we're going to select 1, and make sure the blinking cursor is on the word on, and hit enter. Then we drop down, and when it asks for type, we want the first one. That's the scatter plot. So it's already highlighted. Great. It wants to know what list has our X values. So it's in list 1. So we don't need to do anything there. The second thing is, where's our Y's? We put our Y's in list 2. Then you have a choice to change how you want the plots to appear. Do you want closed dots or open dots? You can play with that if you'd like, or just leave it alone. It's an open dot. And then I believe you should be able to change the color if you choose. Once you're done, you hit graph. Uh-oh, hold on. Sorry. Let's clear this out. Now hit graph. Now, sometimes if you are starting from a calculator that has been reset, you may not see the dots you're looking for. So if that is the case, you need to adjust your window by hitting window. If you look at my table, my lowest X value is 1, so 0 is a good place to start. My highest X value is 7, so I put 10 as my max. Then when it comes down to my Y values, my lowest Y value on my table is 722, so I can start about 700 honestly, but I like to start at 0. And then my max to be larger than my largest data point. So my largest data point was 897, so I decided to go with 1,000. And that's what I had to do to see this picture. If I kept it the regular way, you wouldn't have seen those dots. So make sure if you don't see your dots, adjust your windows. So when I look at this scatter plot, it appears that as my x's increase, so do my y's. And when you look at my table, my x's are increasing by 1. And then if I look at the y values, again, they're increasing every time too, with exception of 5. It kind of dipped back down, but then it went back up again. So the majority of my x's are increasing with, and the same time my y's are increasing. So again, that's considered a positive correlation. So now let's get our line of best fit. Before we do that, let's hit mode. And down towards the bottom, you should see stat diagnostics. You want to make sure it's turned on. The default is off. So if on is not highlighted, all you do is just hover over on and hit enter. And then we can second quit to get out of that screen and go back to the home page. From this page, to get our line of best fit, we would hit the stat button again. We would hit calculate. And then this is called linear regression. So we're going to use option 4. And don't have to worry about memorizing these steps. I'll have a sheet to remind you. But on test day, you will probably have to remember. So again, it's going to ask me is my x's, and my x's are in list 1. So that's why I told you always put your x's in list 1 and always put your y's in list 2, because by default this is always here. So you won't have to change anything, which makes it a little easier. We don't need to do anything with frequent list. However, for store regression equation, that's what that stands for, reg equa. So that's regression equation. We're going to store it. So to store it, we're going to hit alpha zoom. Nope. Okay, sorry. Dang it. I practiced. I swear I did. Oh, goodness gracious. I practiced. Oh, Lord, where's the shortcut? Is it second zoom? Nope. Oh, goodness gracious. Alpha trace. There we go. I'm sorry, guys. Alpha trace. And we're going to select Y1. What this feature does is when we run, after we hit calculate, it's going to automatically enter the equation in Y1 so that we can see its graph. So let's highlight calculate, hit enter. So this is what the equation would look like. So to write the equation, it's telling you that it's in the format of y equals ax plus b. And I know usually we have an m there, but it's okay, trust me. But then they told us what a represents. And so we're going to put 27 here. That's our slope of our vowel line, just like m was. And then plus b. B is a decimal, which is approximately 699.43. So I can expect to see this equation in under y equals for y1. So this is our best fitting line equation. If you're ever asked for an equation, this is how you would write it. It also provides the correlation coefficient, R. Don't worry about R squared, just focus on R. And it's approximately 0.976. So remember I told you the closer it is to +1, the stronger the positive relationship. So 0.97 is pretty close to 1. So we would say this has a strong positive correlation. Now, if you go to y equals, you see our equation written there, and the calculator doesn't like to round, so it's going to put the entire thing there. And we can change the color if we want so that it stands out a bit. Because our dots are blue, so we want to change the color to something else so it stands out a little bit, and then hit OK. Now when I graph, it graphs the line. So again, the line of best fit has to be as close as possible to all the data points, and it's almost hitting every single one. So you probably want to sketch this graph on your notes. Now it's asking us to predict the number of people that will attend the 10th football game. So which variable represented games? X did. So all I need to do is substitute. So I have my equation, y equals 27, and then in place of x, I'm going to put 10. Oops, 69.9.43. So in place of x, I'm going to put 10 because that would represent the 10th football game. Now, since I rounded, I'm going to get an approximation, but I'm going to show you in the calculator how you can use the calculator's non-rounded version to get a better answer. So second quit, if I want to use this equation, I would just type 27 parentheses 10 plus 699.43. So about 969 people should attend game 10. Now, remember we stored that equation, right? So the calculator hasn't forgotten that equation either. So what you can do is hit alpha trace y1, and if you open up a parentheses, type 10, close parentheses, it'll calculate this function for you without rounding at first. So let's see what this answer is. So it's still about the same, but this is just a little more accurate because we didn't round to make that calculation. But again, that's just another way to get the answer, and it's probably a better way just so you won't accidentally type something incorrectly and get the wrong answer. So any questions, please let me know. I know it was a lot of steps on the calculator, but we will definitely practice, don't worry. But this concludes your notes for this lesson.